Greetings, folks. Today we're diving into essential survival skills for thriving in an urban environment during a crisis. Now, when we think about survival, we often picture dense forests or deserted islands. But what about the concrete jungle that most of us call home? Urban environments present unique challenges during emergencies, whether it's natural disasters, civil unrest, or grid-down scenarios. In these concrete landscapes, the rules of survival are rewritten. The towering buildings, bustling streets, and labyrinth-like alleyways transform into a different beast when calamity strikes. The usual conveniences we take for granted, like running water, electricity, or even the internet, might not be at our disposal. And that's where urban survival skills come into play. These skills equip you to navigate and thrive amidst the chaos of a crisis. They aren't just about being tough or resilient. They're about being smart, adaptable, and resourceful. They're about knowing your environment, understanding its unique challenges, and turning those challenges into opportunities. Over the next few scenes, we'll delve into these skills in detail. We'll talk about situational awareness, a crucial skill that can help you avoid dangers and threats. We'll discuss how to move safely and navigate the urban maze when conventional methods like GPS aren't available. We'll show you how to identify and gather resources. And we'll stress the importance of legal and ethical considerations during resource gathering. We'll also touch on improvised self-defense, emergency medical skills, and how to find or create temporary shelters in urban settings. Each of these skills is a piece of the puzzle that, when put together, can help you survive and even thrive during an urban crisis. So, buckle up, folks. It's time to learn how to navigate the concrete jungle in times of crisis. Stick around and we'll walk you through the Concrete Jungle Survival Guide. Don't forget to subscribe for more urban survival guides and hit the bell to receive notifications on our new content. Now let's get started. First up, we have situational awareness, the key to avoiding dangers and threats. It's like having a sixth sense, an intuition about your surroundings. It's about being present, in the moment, and actively engaged with the world around you. It's not about being paranoid, but about being prepared. Imagine you're walking down a bustling city street, a sea of faces, sounds, and movements. You're not just aimlessly wandering. You're observing, analyzing, and interpreting. You're looking for patterns, anomalies, anything that sticks out or doesn't quite add up. This is situational awareness in action. Consider crowd behaviors. People are like water. They flow from one place to another, often following the path of least resistance. If you see a crowd moving in a particular direction, there's usually a reason. It could be something benign, like a street performer or a sale, or it could be something potentially dangerous, like a fire or a fight. By observing crowd behaviors, you can anticipate potential dangers and avoid them. Now let's talk about exits. When you enter a building, whether it's a shopping mall, a subway station, or a high-rise, always identify your exits. Know where you came in, but also look for alternative ways out. Staircases, fire escapes, service doors, these could all be your lifeline in an emergency. Don't just rely on the main entrance. That's where everyone else will be heading. And finally, let's not forget about the power of listening. Our ears can pick up information that our eyes might miss. Listen for changes in the ambient noise, for sounds that are out of place. A sudden silence in a busy street, a distant siren, a shout. These could all be signals of a potential threat. In a crisis, your greatest tool isn't the latest gadget or gizmo. It's not a fancy survival kit or a high-tech GPS. It's your mind, your ability to think, observe, and react. So hone your skills of situational awareness. Practice them every day in every situation. Because when disaster strikes, it's not the tools in your hand, but the knowledge in your head that will keep you safe. Remember, knowledge is power, and awareness is your first line of defense. Next, we're tackling navigation, a critical skill when digital aids may not be at your disposal. In the urban maze, knowing how to get around when the usual tools aren't available can be the difference between safety and danger. Imagine the power's out. Your phone's battery is dead and you need to get from point A to point B. It might seem daunting, but don't worry. With a little knowledge and preparation, you can navigate the concrete jungle like a pro. When it comes to urban navigation, the old school way is often the best way. We're talking paper maps. Yes, those foldable, occasionally frustrating, but always reliable guides to your city. They don't need batteries and they won't lose signal. Keep one in your survival kit and make sure to familiarize yourself with it before you need it. But what if you don't have a map? That's where landmarks come in. Landmarks are distinctive features in the environment that can be used as reference points. These could be anything from a tall building, a distinctive statue, or a bridge. In an urban environment, there are plenty of landmarks to choose from. The trick is to pick ones that are easily recognizable and not likely to change. Keep a mental or physical note of these landmarks and their relative positions to help guide your way. But remember, navigation isn't just about knowing where you're going. It's also about moving safely. Stick to well-lit areas when possible, and avoid taking shortcuts through unfamiliar territory. Be aware of your surroundings and avoid drawing attention to yourself. And finally, remember that the shortest path isn't always the safest. Sometimes it's better to take a longer route if it means avoiding potential dangers. Navigating an urban environment during a crisis can be challenging, but with a little preparation and the right mindset, it's entirely possible. So grab a map, identify your landmarks, and start practicing your navigation skills today. With these skills, you can navigate the urban labyrinth with confidence. Now let's talk resources. In a crisis, where can you find water, food, and other essentials? In the midst of a citywide emergency, resources can become scarce, and knowing where to look for them could mean the difference between survival and not. Let's start with water, the most essential resource of all. You might be surprised to know that urban landscapes can be teeming with water sources. Rainwater collected on rooftops can be a lifesaver. Just ensure you purify it before consumption to avoid any potential health risks. What about food? Abandoned grocery stores might seem like the obvious choice, but remember, so will everyone else. Consider lesser-known spots like community gardens, green rooftops, or fruit trees in public parks. Now let's touch on a very important aspect: legality and ethics. While survival is key, it's crucial to respect private property and not resort to looting. In times of crisis, community cooperation goes a long way. If you come across a resource, consider sharing with others. Be mindful of your actions, as they can either sow discord or foster unity. In addition to food and water, other essentials like fire-starting materials, tools, and medical supplies can often be found in places you'd least expect. Hardware stores, abandoned vehicles, or even dumpsters can hold valuable resources. Remember, the key is to think outside the box. An urban landscape is more than just concrete and steel. It's a complex network of systems, each with its own potential for resources. From the HVAC systems in buildings that can provide shelter and warmth, to the solar panels on rooftops that can generate electricity. The city is teeming with untapped survival resources. But it all boils down to this: survival isn't just about finding resources, it's about being resourceful. It's about using your wits, your knowledge, and your skills to adapt and overcome any situation. With careful observation and respect for the law, you can find what you need to survive. In an urban crisis, self-defense can be a crucial skill. Let's explore some possibilities. You might be surprised by the everyday objects that can serve as improvised weapons. A sturdy pen or a flashlight, for instance, can be used as a striking tool. Even a rolled-up newspaper or magazine, if held correctly, can serve as a makeshift baton. The key is to use these items in a way that maximizes their potential as defensive tools. In the concrete jungle, the environment itself can be utilized for self-defense. A wall, for instance, can be used to your advantage to corner an assailant or to put distance between yourself and a potential threat. A stairwell can become a strategic position, forcing an attacker to approach from a specific direction. Now let's talk about some basic self-defense techniques. The palm heel strike, for instance, involves thrusting the heel of your hand into an assailant's nose or chin. It's simple, effective, and doesn't require much strength. The knee strike, driving your knee into an attacker's abdomen or groin, is another powerful move that can help you escape a dangerous situation. Remember, the goal here isn't to win a fight, but to create an opportunity for escape. Every situation is different, and it's important to stay calm, think quickly, and use whatever tools or techniques are available to you. Just as crucial as these physical techniques is the mental aspect of self-defense. This includes maintaining a strong, confident demeanor, even in the face of danger. It's about keeping your cool, making quick decisions, and acting decisively. Lastly, it's important to stress that these techniques should be used responsibly and only in situations where your personal safety is at immediate risk. Understanding local laws related to self-defense is also key, as legal repercussions can follow if these skills are misused. Remember, these techniques are for defense only, but they could save your life. Up next, we're covering emergency medical skills, essential for treating injuries in a crisis. When the chips are down and professional help is out of reach, knowing basic first aid can be a lifesaver. It's vital to understand that first aid isn't about replacing medical professionals, but about providing immediate care until help arrives. Let's start with the basics. The first step is to ensure your safety. You can't help others if you're in danger yourself. Once safe, check the injured person's responsiveness. Are they conscious? Are they breathing? If they're unresponsive, call for help immediately if you can. Next, let's talk about wounds. Cuts, scrapes, and punctures are common in an urban crisis. You'll want to clean the wound with clean water and soap if available, then cover it with a clean cloth or bandage. For larger wounds, you may need to apply pressure to stop bleeding. Remember, your goal is to prevent infection and control bleeding, not to perform surgery. Now, what about sprains and fractures? If you suspect a fracture, the key is immobilization. Use whatever you can find, sticks, cardboard, even rolled up newspapers, to create a splint. Wrap it tight, but not so tight it cuts off circulation. Of course, these are just basics. There's much more to learn about first aid, but these skills can make a difference in a crisis. But what about supplies? You might not have a fully stocked first aid kit when disaster strikes. Look around you. Many common items can be used in a pinch. Clean cloths can become bandages. Duct tape can secure a splint. A credit card can scrape away a bee stinger. Be creative, but always prioritize safety. Remember, the best first aid is prevention. Stay aware, stay safe, and avoid injuries whenever you can. With these skills, you can provide critical care when professional help may not be available. Finally, let's discuss shelter. How can you protect yourself from the elements in an urban environment? Shelter is more than just a roof over your head. It's a sanctuary, a place where you can rest, recover, and plan your next move. In a crisis, your first instinct might be to seek out familiar places, your home, your office, or maybe a friend's apartment. But what if these places are inaccessible or compromised? That's when having a knack for improvisation becomes essential. Look at your surroundings. Urban environments are teeming with potential shelters. Abandoned buildings, subway tunnels, even large vehicles can provide temporary refuge. But remember, safety first. Always check the structural integrity of any shelter you consider. Avoid buildings with visible damage or those in danger of collapsing. Now, what if buildings aren't an option? Well, it's time to get creative. Materials for making a makeshift shelter are all around you. Tarps can be found in construction sites or hardware stores. Garbage bags are surprisingly versatile and can be used as a waterproof layer. Even cardboard can be useful as insulation. So, you found your materials. How do you choose a location? First, consider visibility. If you're trying to avoid attention, find a spot that's hidden from view. Next, think about accessibility. Can you enter and exit your shelter easily? If the answer is no, you might want to reconsider your choice. And last but not least, always look out for signs of other inhabitants. You don't want to intrude on someone else's territory or stumble upon a wild animal's den. When you've chosen your spot and gathered your materials, it's time to construct your shelter. Remember, the goal is to protect yourself from the elements, not to build a 5-star hotel. Be practical, not extravagant. With these tips, you can find safety and comfort even in the harshest conditions. Well, folks, that wraps up our guide to urban survival. We've journeyed through the concrete jungle together, learning the art of situational awareness, how to navigate safely when technology fails us, and the best ways to find the resources we need to survive. We've examined self-defense techniques and the importance of an improvised weapon, as well as the basic first aid skills that can mean the difference between life and death in a crisis. We've also explored how to create a temporary shelter from the materials we find around us. These skills are not just important, they're essential for anyone living in an urban environment, particularly in times of crisis. They can make the difference between being a survivor and becoming a statistic. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you practice these skills, the more instinctive they will become. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.